Hello friends and welcome back to the Rayo Moon Oracle. I'm Rayo and today we're continuing our Tarot Discovery series with card number 16, the Tower card. We're almost done with the Major Arcana. Only a few more cards left, about 5 or so, and then we'll be all done. Major Arcana, real big energies here. So Tower, well, the Death card and the Devil card, and those cards are a little bit scarier usually to see. The Tower is a little bit more unassuming, but it is probably the one I want to see the least in a tarot reading for myself and for others, because the Tower coming out, that is usually unavoidable energy in some capacity or another. There's definitely a little bit of aspect of free will there for how badly or how destructive the Tower energy can be, but you cannot avoid Tower energy no matter how hard you try. So it's more about working with it versus like the Death card or the Devil card. There's ways to avoid certain aspects of it depending on how it's coming out in a reading, but you can't avoid the Tower, unfortunately. And it comes through in lots of big spiritual ways and big ways that are very, very important and that mean a lot of things for us down the line in our spiritual journey and spiritual evolution. In terms of numerology, actually, that really lends itself to that because it adds up to the number 7, which in my understanding for energies and how I view this number 7, that's a big spiritual evolution usually that has lots of spiritual implications to it in terms of growth and change and learning. So a lot of big changes come out of the Tower card here. In terms of astrology, it's associated with war, the element of fire, but very destructive, conflicting energy. So we have that war aspect from Mars coming through, and that fire is that destructive fire versus that creation and spark of life, really. So keywords for our Tower card here, before we start getting into the other cards I pulled for us today. I have 3 from my various tarot decks. Keywords for the Tower: upheaval, rebuilding, chaos, change, breakthrough, suddenness, surrender, survival, revelation, awakening, inevitable, disaster, destruction, trauma, loss, tragedy, and pain. So yeah, not a fun card all the time for sure. Our Tower card, with our original Rider-Waite imagery, we actually do see a tower, right? And we see being struck by lightning, people falling out of the tower, most likely to their deaths. And common elements you'll usually see in Tower cards, there's that aspect of like the foundation, whatever that foundation may be, a foundation for a tower, the foundation or roots of a tree, something like that in terms of energy. And this concept of foundation really lends itself to what we've built our lives on, the belief structures, our identities, whatever that may be, our community around us, those foundational aspects of our lives, and whether or not that foundation is strong enough to withstand turbulence and destructiveness and those other pieces, right? The Tower energy comes in, that flash of lightning is usually that destructive aspect coming in, very quick flash, and that's kind of that revelation, that awakening piece that the card mentions. But that's also the destruction at the same time. This lightning strike comes in and illuminates things, but it also destroys everything that the Tower originally stood for. So there's certain things, like there's a test energy that comes with the Tower card, because if your foundation is actually solid, built on steady things, on things that will actually support you, that foundation will stay despite the rest of the Tower falling down. If that foundation wasn't strong, though, that foundation crumbles just like everything else and all the rest. So those 2 elements are really present in any of the Tower cards, that foundation and the lightning. So other energy, other meanings for the Tower card here, we have life upended, shattered, altered, destroyed to the foundation. Comes with energy that is blindsiding. You have to let the dust settle before you start rebuilding, because in terms of disasters, right, there's sometimes a second wave that comes through. If you think about an earthquake, the earthquake destroys a lot of things in and of itself, but sometimes creates that tidal wave that comes through and continues that destructive process. So you want to make sure that all the dust is completely settled, all the fires are out, everything is completely actually calm finally before you see what's left and start rebuilding at that point. Not a fun energy again. So after that dust settles, you're trying to rebuild. We end up shattered by truth that we didn't realize before. That's that lightning strike coming in and illuminating things for us. So When the tower shows up in a reading, we really want to question what that tower represents, right? Does it represent a relationship, a job, some type of self-expression or identity, self-identity? Does it represent family, or like there's so many things that the tower can represent, right? So we have to really look at potentially the other cards around it, or if it's for a specific question, what the tower represents in the reading. Because we're going to end up shattering our false pretenses here. It shakes you to that very core, that foundation, right? So, but what the tower also does is it offers us an opportunity to break old patterns. Sometimes it's forced on us, but with that, if you see a tower moment coming ahead of time, or you feel it in your intuition, you have the ability to use your free will in order to help change the situation kind of ahead of time. Again, the tower moment is inevitable, right? But if you see the cracks in the foundation ahead of time, you can start that rebuilding process, or that laying of a new foundation before the old one crumbles. So that's where we have the opportunity to potentially not quite avoid, but work with a tower moment instead of letting it take over us. So yeah, so it's willing to change when we see the cracks forming, because the tower can come out as a warning for us and helping us face the truth ahead of time if we're really tuned into ourselves and in our intuition. We'll see that later coming out when we get into the reversal meanings for the tower. So my 3 tower cards I pulled for us today, I pulled from the Halloween Tarot first here. So the Halloween Tarot, I liked it because it really felt like it showed the different energies and all the different things that can be encompassed in a tower, right? So if we think of like our house, everything's in it, right? So it's our emotions, our means of finance, like you think of the elements, right? And the tarot, our pentacles, our cups, our swords, and our wands, right? All those are kind of encompassed in the tower itself, and therefore all those things are subject to destruction potentially in the tower. So we really see this in the Halloween Tarot specifically here, because we have this whole haunted house being struck by lightning on the top. We see the ghost kind of like whooshing out and like falling, representing that kind of energy there with the destruction. The cat's very like up in arms, kind of for seeing all this destruction happening here. But we see all the different elements here, all these different pieces representing all the different aspects of your life, right? And how the tower moment it can hit any of those at any time. And if those are not structurally sound, if those are not strong in themselves, then they will be taken down by this tower energy. So I really liked the Halloween Tarot specifically in this case, because it feels like a very busy card when you first look at it. We'll see it again kind of in the Santo Muerte here in a second, but that energy really just kind of represents all those different aspects of your life, different aspects of self, and different things that can be hit by a tower moment if we are not aware of it ahead of time, if we are not tuned in with our intuition. So very interesting energy in that case, and why I really liked the Halloween Tarot specifically. So our next card that I pulled is from the Light Seer's Tarot. I liked this one when I was choosing which cards to pull specifically for the tower. There was quite a few cards that had either kind of this house like kind of tower imagery or this tree imagery specifically. And we see the tree one here in the Light Seer's Tarot, and I really liked this one because it felt that spiritual kind of evolution piece stuck out in this card a little bit more. So we see with our butterflies here, right, they are kind of like fading out. It's a little bit like Thanos snap energy, right, where they're just kind of disintegrating, but they're kind of feeling like that fire energy at the same time, the tree being on fire. So we see our tree struck by the lightning here, and we see the squirrel kind of looking up at it, and it's just like, okay, hey, this tree's been hit, something that we thought was steady and stable and tall and secure, struck by lightning, right? And that can now fall at any point. It's completely destroyed on maybe itself. It can light on fire. And the butterflies are really interesting here, because it feels like you first look, right? First look, it looks like the tree's on fire with the orange butterflies. And then you look a little bit closer and you're like, okay, hey, those are butterflies that are like kind of disintegrating. So to me, what it really feels like is it's really kind of calling into that like spiritual evolution aspect, right? They're both fire and butterflies at the same time to me, where I'm like, okay, hey, I'm looking, and it's that deeper aspect, that transformation, right? Butterflies are very transformational energy with the caterpillar cocoon and butterfly imagery coming through. And that spiritual evolution, that spiritual growth really comes through here with the Light Seer's Tarot. It's like, okay, the lightning coming in for illumination, the butterflies, kind of that fire and the destructiveness at the same time, but also that transformation. So really, really unique card, and I really, really like that. You kind of get the feeling of the fire because it seems like there's like little sparks there, right above the head of the squirrel here. So super interesting energy, and I just kind of like it. There's that aspect of growth and regrowth and rebuilding and transformation in the card. We see kind of that like the grass along the edge of the tree as well. So really, really opposing color imagery that's really interesting here in the Light Seer's Tarot. And in terms of trees that are struck for representing of the tower energy in various tarot decks, I liked this one the most. So let us move on now to our final card, which is my Santa Muerte. I know I have a really hard time choosing anything but the Santa Muerte sometimes when I'm coming through, but in terms of Major Arcana, it's just there's so much imagery and themes and symbolism that's really, really strong on the Santa Muerte card. So again, I pulled this one. I think this one, similar to the Halloween Tarot, really gave that feel of all the encompassing aspects that the tower can be. Any piece of our life. I think it really represents also for the Santa Muerte kind of that confusion and chaos that happens with the tower as well, because chaos is definitely one of our key words for the tower here. We see all these stairs that are kind of going to different places and that are upside down and sideways and in different aspects. So you turn the card one way and it's like, okay, it looks like this, and you see people that are upright now that weren't before, and you turn it another way and now people are upside down, but some people are upside right side up now. That's the words I wanted. So definitely really, really interesting. You look at the tower in this card, right? So it's like, okay, I have it this way and it's upside down right now, right? It's in reverse, but there's figures that are upright. You turn it upright and then there's those figures are now upside down, or there's different ones that are upright. So super, super interesting imagery, right? Most of the card actually is not upright in this case. So I think that really lends to the aspect of confusion that the tower card can have, that lack of steady foundation, right? That lack of solid foundation to build on, that builds a strong house, right? You look at this and it's like, okay, something strikes us, some kind of natural disaster hits this kind of tower house, and everything's going to fall apart because nothing's right side up in the first place, right? So super, super interesting imagery. I really, really liked it for that. So up is down, left is right. Things that are on the ceiling are actually on the floor, vice versa. It's very, very interesting imagery for the Santa Muerte card, and really kind of captures a different aspect, I think, than the other tarot cards that represent that have the tower in them. So super interesting. Let us move on now, finally, now to our reversals. So I actually wrote this one in the proper kind of reversal ways, where it's like, okay, too much, like there's one way to work with a reversal tower energy, or that's represented by it, and then there's the other way. And if we are denying the tower energy, if we are not working with the tower energy, again, it's a kind of an inevitable case. We end up delaying disaster. There's a lot of fear, fear of pain. We have avoidance, opposition. Lots of negativity and instability comes from trying to deny or avoid a tower moment. So we have that denial. We're going against that current. We're trying to avert it, avert disaster, but in the end, what we're resisting or delaying the inevitable. But a reverse tower can also represent really when we're connected with our intuition here. We can find that deep personal change that's kind of chosen by us, right? I taught in one of my readings lately, I think it might have been some of the zodiac readings, talking about tower moments, or I think it was the storm card that showed up for one of the zodiac signs, where it's like, okay, you can see the cracks forming ahead of time, right? So you can choose to work with this energy, figure out what's wrong, what's happening, and change it ahead of time, or the universe forces you into the situation, right? So we definitely, with the reverse tower coming out, we maybe are choosing something versus being forced into something by the universe. So that's definitely using our free will and choosing a situation is much less painful in the long run versus the universe forcing it. So But other parts that come from a reverse tower, that existential crisis maybe, again, but you're questioning it, you're really trying to figure that out, questioning your life purpose. These are you asking those deep internal questions in order to reach that spiritual evolution, that spiritual enlightenment, right? So these last kind of little bits that I had for the tower in reverse can minimize destruction through intuition. So again, figuring out ahead of time, working with it ahead of time, and then humbleness to peace. So working with the tower moment coming into our lives, right? We can see, if we're really looking deep inside ourselves, we can see what's been going wrong. We have to be honest, we have to be truthful with ourselves, right? But we can use our intuition to really figure out, okay, hey, this is what's wrong, this is what's crumbling, this is what's cracking, and figure out a way to fix it. And being humble with ourselves, being like, okay, hey, I did this wrong, I know better now, I know this now instead, this is this illumination that's come in, I'm going to incorporate it now. That's where that humbleness comes in, and that ultimately leads to peace, right? Because then we in essence avoid the tower, but we more so avoid the destructiveness of the tower, the universe forcing our hand, right? So that leads to that peace energy coming through, because we're choosing and fixing something that the universe has pointed out to us without the universe having to destroy it in the process for us. So very, very interesting energy there for the tower. Again, probably the least fun card to actually see come out in a tarot reading. More so to me than the devil or the death card or judgment. Tower's not usually a fun card, but there's ways we can, again, minimize the damage, minimize the pain that we go through by really, really tuning in with ourselves and our intuition and figuring out what the universe is trying to teach us, and therefore work with that and grow from it. So, but friends, that is all I have for us today for our Tarot Discovery series. We've only got a few more videos of this left, and then we'll be done with our Major Arcana here. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.